Hello, everyone. As I said before, this is my first year doing a flipped classroom, so this is the first time that I'm teaching the lessons of percents in a video, and I'm a little hesitant about how it's going to go. So if we have questions on Tuesday, I am more than willing to devote to class time to going over your questions. It's hard to believe, but if we continue thinking of what we've done in topic 1 and topic 2 so far with proportional relationships, and now we're moving to percents, you might not feel like they're related, but they actually are. Our percent shows a proportional relationship. And what we're going to be using to solve our percent problems is the percent equation, which states part equals percent times whole. And that should look fairly familiar if I write y equals mx, which we talked about in proportional relationships and equations. So what I'd like you to notice here is they've given us a whole bunch of information that the what is, if we're looking for what is, that is called the part. And the percent is the part is equal to the percent times the whole number. So the percent, what they're not showing you here though is they're writing it as 25%. I want us to get into the habit of putting it as 25 over 100 when we write it in the equation, but we'll get to that point. The next part is saying that if it says of what number, that means we would be looking for the whole. And if it says what percent, then I'm looking for the word percent. Now, they have this written very nicely for us, all in the same order. I want you to see that is, every single time, means equals. If I said 4 plus 6 is 10, is means equals in this scenario. Then, for multiplication, if you just have the word of, that means multiply. We're going to need to use these little context clues to help us write our equation. The first thing, I also want to just give us a little hint about this right now, that when there's going to be some other words in our questions besides whole. So if we think about original or total, those also mean whole. So example number 1 is asking us to write whether each question is looking for the part, the percent, or the whole. Then they want us to circle the portion of each statement that led you to the answer. So I will show you what I'm expecting with letter A, and then I'll have you go on and try the rest on your own. So for A, it says 4 is what percent of 6? So it's giving me 4 is, so that I would know that's my part, and of 6, that is my whole. So what percent? I am looking for the percent here. Okay, so I lied. I'll help you guys with B as well, just to make sure we're on the right path. So again, this says 65 is, so that would make me think that that is the part. 30%, if the number has a percent sign after it, obviously that's the percent. And the of what number makes me think that we're looking for the whole. So go ahead, do C through F, and pause the video. I thought they were all pretty straightforward because they have, if you notice, it was following the same order as the examples above. But F on this one, they switched up the order. They put the percent first, then of what number came next, which was normally where our percent goes, and then says is 12. So of what number would mean we're looking for the whole. Question number 2, same thing. It's a question 190 is 10% of what number, looking for the part, the percent, or the whole. Since it says of what number, I would be looking for the whole. Hope you all just said that out loud as I was answering it. Now we get to the fun part, where we're going to be solving each of these percent problems. We're going to be writing an equation and then solving the equations. Now, there are many different ways to actually solve the percent equations once we have them set up. So if what I'm going over with you right now doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense, or you're not understanding why I am doing what I'm doing, please ask me and I will help go over that. I will also make sure to show you some other examples in class when I see you again. So for number 3, again, they're saying to solve each percent problem. And it says 11 is what percent of 50? 25 is 4% of what number? What is 40% of 60? These are the bare minimum, most basic percent questions that you will be asked to complete. As we move along in topic 3, the questions are going to become more complicated and the concepts are going to become more complicated as well. So we need to make sure that we really understand and show our work the way that I'm asking you to do it. So let's start with 11 is what percent of 50? If I think of the percent problem, so I would be using the percent equation. I would be thinking about part equals percent times whole. This is the same exact thing that is written on the top of your paper. I'm just writing it again so I can refer to it. And then again, it's y equals mx. So if I'm looking for the part, I'm going to put a y. If I'm looking for the percent, I'm going to put m in its place. And I'm looking for the whole, I will put x in its place. So 11 is, I know that's going to be my part. What percent? I'm looking for the percent, so that's my m, of 50, so that's my whole, times 50. So I would write here, 11 equals, now because we're looking for a percent, and we need to be careful here because this is the only example on the notes where they actually ask you to find the percent, and there's a couple on your homework where you need to do this. If you're looking for the percent means per 100. It means 100. It says that in the word. So because I don't want you to forget about multiplying or dividing by 100 at the end, we're going to take and put m already over 100. Because if you put any number over 100, you now made it a percent. And then I have the times 50. So again, there may be simpler ways to solve what I'm going to do, but I just want to show you my thought process. So I'm thinking to myself that m is in the numerator, and 50, if I was to put it over 1, now that number is in the numerator. So m times 50 would just be 50m, and 100 times 1 would be 100. And if these two statements are equivalent, where I now just put 50 in front of the m, I can also now take the m and place it to the side, because it's really over 1. This is completely equivalent. So now I have 11 equals 50 hundredths m. To make my life easier, I'm going to simplify 50 hundredths, because I know that reduces right down to a half. I'm going to continue practicing dividing our fractions here. So I have 1/2 divided by 1/2, which cancels out. I am left with the m, so that reminds me I'm actually looking for the percent. 11 divided by 1/2. The common denominator here would be 2, the least common multiple, so I'm going to multiply by 2, and I get 22. And because I'm looking for a percent, and I already put my percent over 100, I'm going to have 22% as my answer. Next, 25 is 4% of what number? So 25 is, so that makes 25 my part, so I will put that first in the equation. Is, again, just as a reminder, meaning equal. 4%, so to remove the percent sign, I'm going to take 4 and place that divided by 100. Of what number means I will be looking for my whole, so times x. So this one's going to be a little bit quicker than the one we just did. I'm going to divide both sides by 4 hundredths. I could reduce 4 hundredths again. I'm going to multiply by 100, because if you want to think about that 25 being over 1, the LCM of 1 and 100 would be 100. Don't get freaked out that I'm doing this on the left. It's perfectly valid. I cancel out the 100 in the denominator. I'm left with 100 times 25, which is going to give me 2,500, and I still am left with 4 in the denominator. So I have to do 2,500 divided by 4, which will give me 625. Since I already had the percent in the question, I don't have to change this number to a percent. The last one says, what is 40% of 60? So what is, that's my part. I don't know what my part is, so I will replace it with a y. Is, again, meaning or equal. 40%, so I will put 40 divided by 100 of 60, I'll multiply by 60. Again, think of 60 as being over 1. I know I shouldn't say over 1, but it's a whole number, and to make any whole number a fraction, I place the number over 1. You're going to multiply the 40 and the 60, which will give you 2,400, and 100 times the 1 to give me 100. And then I'm really just doing 2,400 divided by 100, and it will give me 24. So there is an example of finding the percent, the whole, and the part. Flipping the paper over, it says which of the following is or are true. So there could be one correct answer, there could be more than one. We're going to set up our work, we're going to do all 4 of these. When I notice this, it says 7 is 50% of 400. So there really isn't anything that I need to find, I just needed to figure out if all of this is true. So I'm going to label my work, and if it says 7 is 50% of 14, 7 is, that would be my part. The percent would be my percent coming next, and then the of 14 would be my whole. So I'm going to say 7 is 50%, so 50 hundredths of 14. I'm going to reduce 50 hundredths down to 1/2. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, 14 divided by 2 is 7, and I'm only left with 7 equals 7, so that appears to be true to me. 7 does equal 7. So 1 is true. If I go on to the second one, 28 is 14% of 100. So 14%, I'm going to place that over 100 times 200. And then this is where I'm going to do things a little differently than I've done so far. When I am multiplying, technically 14 hundredths is a fraction, and 200 first, I can make that a fraction. I can cross cancel. So 200 divided by 100 is 2, and 100 divided by 100 is 1. So I'm left with 28 equals 14 times 2 to give me 28. So that one also appears to be true. Number 3, Roman numeral 3. 6 is 40% of 14. It's following the same format as the previous 2 questions. So I will have 6 is 40 hundredths of 14. And again here, you can either cross cancel the 14 and the 100, or I'm going to reduce 40 hundredths. That's going to go down to 2/5. So we're still continuing with a lot of our cross-canceling or reducing. That's not going away. I then am going to say 2 times 14 is, oops, I'm sorry, I'm writing 60 all of a sudden. Let me fix that. 6. So that's going to give me 28 fifths. And 28 fifths is not going to give me a whole number, so there's no way it's going to be equal to 6. So that one seems to be false. And then for number 4, if you were to go too quickly, you might start putting these numbers in the wrong place. 40% of 35 is 14. They've switched the order on us. So is 14, that is your part. So that will actually come first in our equation. Then the part is equal to the percent, so 40 hundredths, times the whole. So the of 35 would make that our whole. So again, I'm going to go through and reduce this. So 40 hundredths reduces down to 2/5. I'm going to cross cancel the 35 and the 5, so that will leave me with 7 and 1. And so I get 14 equals 14, and that one is also true. So 1, 2, and 4 are true. For number 5, it says that a hairdresser is paid $7.50 per hour. After a year, he is to receive an 8% raise. So is the information in the letter correct? So congratulations, you've earned a raise. Your current wage is $7.50 per hour, which they've already given us that information. Your percent raise should be 8%, and your raise amount they're now stating is 55%. Now you could just accept this as true and say, oh yay, I get a 55-cent raise per hour. but let's just double check to make sure that it is correct. If we're again going back to the concept of part equals percent times the whole, this is the first time where it's going to be a little bit more challenging to figure out which one is the part and which one is the whole. Obviously, the percent should be easier to figure out. So if his original amount of money that he made was $7.50 per hour, that is actually going to be the whole. That's the original amount that he made. So when they're saying current wage, that's the same thing as saying his original hourly wage. And the raise would be the part that he gets increased. So he only gets a piece of his rate, a piece of his current wage increase. It's not like they're just doubling his wages. So the raise amount is what we're going to be checking here. Now we could put 55 in here for the 55 cents equals 8% times $7.50, and then check to see if that is a true statement, or we can just figure out if 8% of $7.50 is actually 55 cents. So I'm going to say that the part in this scenario is actually the raise. The percent is going to be 8/100ths, the percentage of the raise. The whole in this scenario, again, is our original wage, which was $7.50. And because it's a decimal, and I'm using a multiplication sign as a dot, I'm going to now just put parentheses so I don't confuse my decimals with anything. So again, I'm solving for the raise. I'm going to be checking my raise at the end with the 55 cents per hour. You're due 8 times 750. 8 times 750 is going to give me 60. It leaves me with 100. So 60 hundredths is also the same thing as saying 60 hundredths as a decimal. And so he was actually supposed to get a 60-cent raise. So is the information letter correct? No, definitely not. The raise amount in the letter is incorrect. You should get 60 cents instead of 55. $0.60 per hour raise instead of 55. Okay? I'm going to let you guys try number 6 on your own. Make sure you read it carefully. You need to decide which one is your part, which one is your percent, and which one is your whole. Once you figure out those, then you can set up your equation. I know I normally say that I'm going to have the question done by the time that you come back, but I really think it's important just to walk through this one. So if they said that your friend has given you a gift certificate for a haircut, after the haircut, you want to leave an appropriate tip for the hairdresser. A tip is a part of what you are paying. It's not the whole thing. It's a part of what you pay. The receptionist says you should leave exactly $3 if you want to tip 20% of the price of the haircut. So what was the price of the haircut? So if they've said of the price of the haircut, again, they're talking that is definitely the whole. The tip amount of 3 is going to be our part. So again, it is the part equals the percent times whole. That is going to be our key concept for today, obviously. So I'm putting 3 in place of the part. I'm putting 20 hundredths in place of the percent. And then a X in place of the whole. If you wanted to change 20 hundredths to a decimal right now, I would have absolutely no problem with that. If anybody had done that, that's okay. I'm getting into the habit of leaving it as a fraction. So I'm going to divide both sides by 20 hundredths. I could reduce if I wanted to. I'm going to put 3/1 and then divide by 20 hundredths. Division bars here. I'm going to multiply the numerator and denominator by 100. I'm left with 300/20ths. I can cross off my zeros. 30 divided by 2 will give me 15. So that meant that the price of the haircut was $15 and that the total amount that was actually left is going to be 18. I will have a great weekend and I will see you guys on Tuesday.